The alarm hit before I even reached the gantry, a sharp pulse of red light bouncing off the walls of Kestrel Station, and I dropped my toolkit and ran toward Dock 9 because I knew, before anyone told me, that something had gone wrong at the edge of the shipping lane. 3 raider ships had slipped past our outer sensors. That much I learned from the panicked voice on the comm channel, a young officer named Oliver Grant, his words tumbling over each other as he tried to explain that our defense grid was already failing. I was not a soldier. I was a maintenance tech, third shift, the kind of person who fixed broken pipes and faulty wiring and never once expected to matter in a moment like this. But I was the only person on this station who had ever walked up to Dock 9 without shaking. The dock in front of me held a ship that nobody serviced and nobody spoke about. Everyone on Kestrel called its pilot the Veil, a name that carried more fear than any actual threat she had ever shown me. 11 years she had sat here, powered down, forgotten on purpose, because the people in charge were too afraid to ask her for anything. I pressed my palm against the cold hull and called her name, the one she had given me herself, the one nobody else on this station even knew, Kalith. Nothing happened for 3 long seconds, and in those 3 seconds I heard the comm channel fill with static and shouting, freighters screaming for help that was not coming. Then the hull split open in perfect silence, and she stood there, tall and dark, her white eyes catching the red alarm light without blinking. I did not waste time explaining. I told her the raiders had broken through, that families on those freighters had children on board, that Command had not called her because Command was still too frightened to speak to her directly. She looked past me toward the open dock doors, toward the black of space beyond the station, and for a moment I thought she would simply close the hull again and let the silence swallow the request the way it had swallowed every request for 11 years. Instead, she stepped forward, and the ground under my boots trembled slightly as her ship came alive behind her, lights flickering on for the first time in over a decade. "Get on board," she said, her voice arriving inside my mind rather than through the air, calm in a way that made my racing heart slow just slightly. I froze for half a second, because nothing in my training had prepared me for boarding a ship that half the station believed could level a city without trying. But then I thought about the freighters, about Oliver's shaking voice on the comm, and I climbed in after her before the fear could catch up with me. The interior of her ship was nothing like I expected, no chaos of wires or blinking panels, just smooth, dark surfaces that pulsed faintly with light as she moved through them, as if the whole vessel breathed along with her. We cleared the dock in under 10 seconds, faster than any launch I had ever felt, and the pressure of it pinned me against a wall that softened slightly to hold me steady. Through the viewport I saw the 3 raider ships circling one of our freighters like predators closing in on something wounded, weapons fire already scorching across its hull. Kalith did not slow down. She did not hesitate. She moved the ship directly between the freighter and the nearest raider vessel, close enough that I could see the raider crew through their own viewport, their faces shifting from aggression to confusion, and then to something closer to panic. She opened a channel, her voice carrying out loud this time instead of only inside my head, and she gave them one simple instruction: to withdraw now and leave the lane, because this would be their only warning. The raiders answered with another volley of weapons fire, and I braced myself for whatever would happen next, my hands gripping the edge of a console because I had nothing else to hold on to. What happened next was not what I expected. She did not destroy them. She did something quieter, more precise, reaching out with whatever ability had made 3 governments write formal reports demanding she never come near inhabited space again. Every weapon system across all 3 raider ships went dark at once, engines included, leaving them drifting helplessly in open space. The freighter crew's voice broke through the comm, thanking whoever had just saved them, and I felt something loosen in my chest that had been tight since the alarm first sounded. But the danger was not finished. A 4th ship appeared on the sensors, larger than the others, moving fast from the far side of the lane, weapons already charging as it closed the distance. Kalith's ship shifted position instantly, placing itself in the new ship's path, and I realized this one was different, built for exactly this kind of confrontation, its hull reinforced in a way the smaller raiders had not been. She turned to me for just a moment, and I saw something in her white eyes that I had never seen there before, not in 8 months of quiet conversations at the edge of her dock. She looked uncertain. "This one carries a weapon designed to counter exactly what I do," she said, "and if it fires first, I may not be able to stop it in time." I asked her what I could do to help, even though I already knew I had no weapons training, no combat skills, nothing that could matter in a fight like this. She told me to reach the auxiliary console behind me and reroute power away from life support and into her ship's forward shielding, because the sudden power spike would buy her the half-second she needed to close the distance and disable the larger ship before it could fire. My hands shook as I found the console, but I forced them steady, remembering every wiring diagram I had ever studied, every late night spent fixing systems nobody else wanted to touch. I found the pathway she described and rerouted the power exactly as she asked. The ship lurched forward with a burst of speed that pressed the air from my lungs, and through the viewport I watched her close the distance to the larger raider vessel in a single breath, faster than its weapon system could complete its charge. She reached out again with that same quiet ability, and the larger ship's systems failed all at once, its lights dimming from bright white to nothing, leaving it drifting alongside the others, disabled but intact. Silence settled over the comm channel, broken only by the freighter crew's continued thanks, and Oliver's voice from the station, disbelief clear in every word, as he confirmed that all 4 raider ships were now harmless, and the shipping lane was clear. Kalith brought her ship back toward Kestrel Station slowly this time, no longer needing the speed that had carried us into danger only minutes before. I found myself laughing quietly, more from relief than humor, and she glanced at me with an expression I had learned to recognize as her version of curiosity. "You are not afraid, even now," she said, and it was not quite a question. I told her I had been afraid the entire time. That fear had been sitting in my chest since the first alarm, but that being afraid had never stopped me from doing what needed doing, and it certainly was not going to start now. Something shifted in her posture as she guided the ship back into Dock 9, something I can only describe as relief, though I am still not certain her species experiences relief the way mine does. The dock doors closed behind us, and for the first time in 11 years, the amber lights along the corridor outside brightened to full strength, as if the station itself had decided the darkness was no longer necessary. Oliver's voice came through the comm one more time, this time addressed directly to Kalith, thanking her by name for the first time since she had arrived at this station, his voice carrying none of the fear I had grown used to hearing whenever anyone spoke about Dock 9. She did not answer him with words. Instead, she looked at me, and I understood that this quiet trust between us, built slowly over 8 months of simple conversations at the edge of an open hatch, had just become something the entire station could finally see. I climbed out of her ship and stood on the gantry, my legs still unsteady from the speed and the pressure of everything that had just happened, and I looked back at her standing in the doorway of a ship that no longer felt like a warning to me. She told me that Command would likely want to speak with her now, after 11 years of silence, and asked if I thought that was a good thing. I told her it depended entirely on whether they were finally ready to stop being afraid of someone who had just saved 41 lives without asking for anything in return. She considered this for a moment, then said that she supposed we would find out together, and something about the way she said together made the entire corridor feel less like the forgotten edge of a station, and more like somewhere worth staying. I picked up my toolkit from where I had dropped it before running toward the alarm, and I told her the cooling array still needed checking, emergency or not, because the universe apparently did not pause its maintenance schedule just because something extraordinary had happened. She almost smiled, the way she always did when I said something that surprised her, and she settled back into the open hatch to watch me work, exactly the way she had every single time before. And for the first time since I had met her, the quiet of Dock 9 did not feel like fear held carefully in place. It felt like trust, finally allowed to breathe.